Hi, I'm Lindsay Juergens, and this is Leaders Like Us. Thank you to JBS for being our series sponsor. Today we have Courtney Glock.
Good morning.
Good morning. Courtney, as I mentioned just moments ago before we started shooting, I think might be 6 people left in Grand Island who don't know you. So this might be a little catered to them, but I have a feeling all of your fans, all the rest of our community is still happy to hear from you. So I really appreciate you joining us today. I think the world of you personally and professionally. I couldn't be more impressed. So I feel like it's an honor to be able to highlight you for Leaders Like Us.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have been selected. There's so many great leaders in our community, so to even be considered as even a fraction of one of them is such an honor. So thank you for having me on.
Well, you are. I think probably for the sake of the flow, let's just start at the beginning. So you're from this community originally, is that correct?
I
know
am.
You went to Northwest, but
Yeah.
why don't you just kind of take us back?
Yeah, so grew up here in Grand Island. I went to Engelman, Westridge, and Northwest, so I was one of those opt-in students at Northwest. Loved my time here in Grand Island, but when I went off to school, I was ready to get out of the community, right? We hear that all the time from young people. We got to get out of Grand Island. They got to move on. They got to go explore. I went to Kearney and studied public relations and advertising with a minor in marketing. Wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with it, but knew that I was passionate about communications, and building relationships has always been kind of a pinnacle for me, something
Shocker. What a shocker. Okay, carry on.
So went to UNK, loved my time in Kearney, was extremely involved, was very involved with youth while I was in college. I was mentors for children in the elementary and middle school age. I taught preschool for a short time. I did an after-school program in Kearney. But one thing that a lot of people don't know is that I came home all the time. I came back to Grand Island. And at the time, I didn't really realize it. Didn't realize why I was coming back to Grand Island or why I was choosing not to stay in Kearney. But it wasn't until I graduated and had done an internship in Grand Island that I realized what Grand Island had to offer me. And though I loved Kearney, though I loved getting out, I really recognized after that, getting to explore, that Grand Island is a great community. And I just wanted to come back and start my career here. I had no idea the opportunities that Grand Island had for a young person.
Yeah. And so you're a connector, and I know that the chamber has connectors, so I don't mean it in that sense, but you are a connector of people. And I kind of feel that, and I've spoken with Jessica Hendricks a lot about this, like I feel like I'm not great at a lot of things, but one thing I'm good at is helping people find a spot or find a person that will help them into the next step that they need to take or whatever. I feel like you do that, but you just do it so much more eloquently. So why do you think that's who you are? Do you feel like it's a familial thing, or like what does this come from?
Definitely my mom. It has always been like that. So I guess I've had great role models to look after and grow through watching them. But then also just my passion for the community, I think, has been a big driver for me. So I want everyone to know what Grand Island has to offer. I want them to have the resources that I've had. I want them to know that those are available. Right. And I want them to have those avenues to get there. So that connection piece is huge for me, but so is the relationship building. So though I love to connect people, I love to provide those resources, like I said, I also like to build those relationships and long term. And that's something that I recognized at a young age, is that relationships often mean more than the grades in the classroom. You know, the relationships that I built with my teachers and with my classmates and peers, and even on the court, those relationships have paid dividends as I've grown and built my career.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. It's kind of everything, and and I feel like we get into sort of a rat race type thing where we're all just doing our thing and we go through our emotions, and sometimes we get a little insular. Our worlds get a little bit smaller, and that's never intentional, and I totally know that. But it's so cool to go out and build those relationships. You know, for me, I was a young mom, and I didn't have any of that community connectivity early on in my young adult life. And when that happened, I was like, holy moly, like I was missing out big time. because it's so much fun, and that's how you let people blossom, and then you feel yourself blossoming. So it's just such an important thing to have in a community, a Courtney clock rolling around trying to make these things happen. Like, you can tell that you do that so well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not something that I necessarily intend for people to pick up in that sense,
Yeah.
I don't do it for the recognition, absolutely not. But I do it because I know what it's like to maybe be scared to ask the question, to be the youngest one in the room, or to feel intimidated by those that you're surrounded by. Being in my position at such a young age is something that a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to experience. So not only do I not take that for granted, but I also understand maybe from a different lens than a lot of people who have held this position or have held leadership roles in the community. So again, just want to share my experience because I know that sharing with others is going to help them feel more comfortable and hopefully feel more a part of the community as well. I want everybody to feel like Grand Island's a great place to live, work, and play.
Right. And that's with respect to the fact that we have so many different types of folks, different backgrounds, different interest levels, different areas or times of life. And so I think that is pretty special too. We're not a one-size-fits-all community.
Definitely not.
And I don't think that we're trying to be that either. So like, how do we, and I'm speaking kind of out loud to myself too right now, with like, how do we continue to help people find their footing and like find their niche within GI? It's a challenge. It's never ending.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'm beginning to recognize more as I kind of mature in my career is that the work is never done. So we do great things in our community day after day, and we're constantly building leaders. We're constantly helping to grow and develop our young professionals, that next cohort of leaders for our community. But it doesn't stop there. It's an endless cycle, and you're constantly looking for new ways to help new folks feel welcomed in our community. And so, yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not just for the 20-year-olds. It's not for the 40-year-olds. It's not for the retirees. You have to hit on all those different populations. And that really ties into my work with talent attraction and bringing folks to the community, helping them to understand what Grand Island has to offer, and really capitalize on that metropolitan amenity with the small town feel of life.
Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Talent attraction, that is something you have been working so hard at, and I feel like the proof is there, but for those who don't know, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my role at the Chamber is really centered on workforce development, specifically on that talent attraction, talent retention. So a big piece of that is getting folks to move to Grand Island, to choose Grand Island for their next career, the next step of their life, whether that be after college or maybe once they start having children and they're looking for more of a quaint community, one with a strong education system where they can raise their kids, or even those folks that are looking to retire or kind of choose a slower pace of life than the big city. And then feeding off of that would be the retention piece. And that's where the young professionals come in. That's where Leadership Tomorrow comes in. Finding ways to connect our young folks with those opportunities in the community, getting them on business tours and networking events, taking them to meet with different CEOs in the community, giving them the opportunities that are going to help dig their heels into that Grand Island soil, kind of making them feel a part of our community and keeping them here.
Yeah. And that, the talking about like, as we get older, you just learn more and you just pick up the breadcrumbs as you go, right? We're just always learning. That has become so evident to me in the last, probably especially 5 years. That sense of belonging is not a side dish. I mean, it is sort of the whole dish. And then everything else needs to be there, a good career and a healthy family, obviously, all these things, but a sense of belonging kind of has to be there to keep people in place.
Definitely.
And so, yeah, I just feel like what you're doing for that talent attraction piece and really sort of trying to tell the Grand Island story and give people a why is incredibly important.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Like, why Grand Island? Why do you choose Grand Island?
Yeah.
And I think that you touch a lot in leaders like us. I think you hear over and over again why people choose Grand Island,
Yeah.
and for many different reasons. But I try to take that with me when I go out to career fairs, when I'm talking to students in the community at the high school level or college level or
Yeah.
community college, and I ask them really what they're looking for in their future. A lot of them will say, especially my high schoolers, will say, we have to get out of here. You have to close the yearbook. You have to get out of Grand Island. You have to go to the big city. You have to explore. And I will never tell you that you shouldn't do those things. You should absolutely do those things. If that's what you choose to do, that's awesome. But I want those kids to know that they're welcome back here in Grand Island. I want
Right.
them to know that there's opportunities for a career here in Grand Island. There's affordable cost of living, which is ever changing, of course, wherever you go. But we really have it all here in Grand Island, and I want to make sure that they feel welcomed back, that they know that it's okay to come back. Because I was that student who thought I would never come back to Grand Island, and then when I did, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how could I not have, you
It
know?
happens all the time.
Yes.
Like, it's not even an unusual story. We see it, we hear it, but you're so right. Young people, they're just at that point where they're like, oh, I need something different. I need to get out of my little bubble. And that is, I think, true of just about anywhere, whether you're from a small town, big town, mid-size like we are.
Yeah.
I think kids get antsy and it's sort of natural.
Yes.
So to give them that place, though, to come back,
Yes.
it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I get a lot from even just Kearney and Hastings when I talk to college students that have no idea the different services and industries offered in Grand Island. They don't even
Right.
know the population size. I was talking with a Wayne State College student a couple of years ago when I was looking to get him to come to Grand Island. And I asked him what he knew about Grand Island, and he said, I think the state fair's there, but that's about it.
Oh my goodness.
So just little things like that, just kind of connecting
Yeah.
those pieces
Yeah.
and giving them all the information and helping them to make a good decision on what the next step is for them.
Well, what can we do better as a community? Let me think specifically. I'm thinking about business leaders. What can business leaders do differently in terms of creating a city that will keep people or bring people back?
Yeah, we toss this around a lot. And I think that the community branding piece is huge. So not to put that on business leaders, but as a community, we should be branding ourselves, sharing our stories. You know, that's our theme for our annual meeting at the Chamber this year is telling our story. And that's something that we sometimes forget to do. We forget to highlight all the things. You might know bits and pieces, but you don't know the whole story. So really focusing on that community piece. One thing that I do at the Chamber to help our businesses is if you have an intern that's maybe coming to the community, or you have somebody who just started on full time who's not from the area, I will take them out, give them a tour of the community, point out things to do, places to see while they're here, kind of give them the inside scoop on Grand Island. And that has really proven to kind of open their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, they drive maybe the main corridors of 281 or Webb Road, but may not realize all that Grand Island has to offer, from arts and music and theater to sports and different events that come into the community, if you like that
Right.
competitive side.
Right.
So, yeah.
And the rumor is we're getting a new casino. Well, it's not a rumor. It's a hard
Surprise.
fact, right? Surprise. This is the big reveal. We're so late. You know, and so I think about that too, like the added things, the things that are even here now, but obviously that's a big continued project.
Yes.
And we'll need added workforce for that.
Absolutely.
You know, our industries here in town aren't going anywhere, thank God, but we have what our nation has, which is a workforce shortage. So I feel like it's only smart for, and I say business leaders, you're totally right, it's everyone. But I feel like from a strategic standpoint, business leaders would be pretty self-serving if they would think, what can I do? And I think part of that, to your point, is saying, oh, I should call Courtney. I need to have her go on a pseudo date with my newbie and show them around town. Like, but really, yeah, like
sometimes it's
point to
just
some things and talk about some things.
exactly. It's the
Yeah.
little things that make a big difference.
It
It's
is.
just sitting down and having coffee with somebody who knows
Yep.
no one else in the community.
Yeah.
Just making them feel like they have someone to reach out to if they ever needed something. And
Totally.
even something as simple as finding a new doctor or a new gym to work out, all those things that we take for granted because they're around us all the time.
Yes.
But when you're new to the community, those resources, other than a Google search, aren't exactly right in front of you. So helping
Definitely.
to get them connected and make them feel like they're truly at home here in Grand Island.
I love that. And then, not to plug Leadership Unlimited, but the things that we're doing that I feel like are very much on that same page would be Elevate Grand Island. That's our newest program. And that is to inform and bring in and embrace our new American community, which is robust in our area. And then we also have Discover Grand Island, which is just a 2-day program, but it's kind of like that Fast and Furious. Let's show you as much as we can and listen to some passionate people from our community within 2 days, which, by the way, is a really tall order. We have a lot going on, not just the state fair.
Yes, yes.
I mean, yes, the state fair, but not just that. So I think just, thinking about it, it's all hands on deck. It's not any one person's position. However, to the Chamber's credit, Cindy does a fabulous job. You do a fabulous job. And you all do a lot of spearheading in trying to showcase Grand Island.
Yes. And it's ever changing because
Yeah.
everyone's competing for the same talent. And we
Yeah.
had a huge generation that's leaving the workforce.
Yep.
And with them leaving the workforce, not only leaves open jobs, but it also leaves holes on board of directors and
Yes, it
volunteers
does.
in the community and big donors for our community. So in addition to bringing those individuals to Grand Island, the next step is to help build them into a leader for our community and really show them the importance of taking on those leadership positions, even if
Yes.
it's going down to the Humane Society and helping walk dogs or donating for Go Big Give that's coming up in May. All those little things that we don't think about as leaders, as leadership opportunities maybe.
Right. Well, I think we kind of take these things for granted because we just know it.
Yeah.
And I just know what I know, right? And you know what you know. But there's so much that,
Yes.
number one, we don't know. And then also the fact that the people around us may not have that information yet. So I'm always trying to step out of my own shoes and be like, okay, but they may not be aware of that. So like, how can I share that piece
Yeah.
and not just get trapped in my lens? And I feel like you do that expertly.
I just was talking to someone about this. It was one of my young professionals, and I said, they were like, Courtney, you just know everything. Like, you just have a good pulse on the community. And I said, knowledge is power. And if I'm not taking that information that I do have about the community and sharing it with each of you, if I know that there's an area of need and you're a good fit for it, if I'm not connecting you, then I'm not doing my job. Then I'm
Right.
failing to use that knowledge impactfully. And so yeah, that kind of just ties into what you just said, and having a good understanding of what's going on in the community and really using that to help other people.
And that's all of our responsibility in every single way. I think about the fact that I'm a mom of older kids now, and I try to be mindful of parents of younger children, and I'm not like running around being like, guess what, I know everything, because that would be a lie. But I do try to think, okay, like this is where they are, and maybe I can add a little tip here if they're open or whatever, and just think about sharing my own experience here or there. And that's one small example, but just kind of to that same point. Like, let's be sharers of information and also always remaining open to what we don't know yet.
Yep, that all ties together with helping to strengthen the community
Absolutely.
and be the strongest that we can be, a
Yeah.
force.
I agree with you. Courtney, you are such a great advocate for GI, and thank you for that. I also just want to ask you, like personally, what's something you want for yourself? What's maybe what you would call an area of growth or a goal that you have? Can you share something like that with me?
Oh my goodness. So the sky is the limit. I feel like being so young and so new to my career. You know, it's still so early on. I feel like there's a lot that I want to accomplish. But more than anything is I want to continue to be a community driver, not for personal gain, not even necessarily working, you know, whether at the chamber or not, I want to continue to move Grand Island forward through involvement on boards, through volunteering, serving where I can, connecting where I can.
Yeah.
I truly just want to see Grand Island continue to grow. And though that's a big community goal of mine, it's also a personal goal. So selfishly, as Grand Island continues to grow and we gain new businesses and we continue to expand, you know, that's going to make my quality of life here in Grand Island even stronger. So
Right.
we'll take that great ambitious goal of community driving and we'll turn it back to me
Yeah.
by selfishly saying that small things like the casino coming to Grand Island or
Yeah.
Conestoga Mall redevelopment, all of those things impact each of us in the community
Totally.
and our quality of life and the way that we can recruit and retain people here in Grand Island. So kind of multifaceted.
Yeah. Well, we all win in these cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Courtney, thank you again for joining me.
Yeah.
You do great things. I know you, I'm not going to say keep up the good work because you would whether or not I said that, but thank you so much for everything you do. You're an asset to
Thank
Grand
you,
Island.
Lindsay. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Of course. All right. Thank you again to JBS for being our series sponsor. This is Leaders Like Us.